Okay, Austin, let's go over your assignment. Your assignment was to decide on your topic for a compare and contrast and decide on your audience and to find some sources and to decide on your comparisons, which you've done here. The thing that I don't have is I don't have any specific information on your sources. And remember, a source needs to have, let me get where I can write, needs to have an author, a date of publication, a publisher, and if it's a book, it usually has the city it's published in. If it's a website, we put the URL. And so I need some more information about these, and that's what caused your grade to be down right here. I couldn't give you the full credit. So go ahead and send me those sources and I will change that grade for you. Okay, you have your topic, you have your audience. So when you write, I want to see you referring to high school students somehow so that I know that's your audience. But we're going to be working on our outlining next week, but just keep that in mind. So you might say something, when you go to purchase that all-important first car, something that lets me know who your audience is. So you've defined your audience, you've defined your topic, you have 4 sources here. Wait, Edmunds, Ford, Chevrolet, Car and Driver, and Auto Guide. You have 5 sources and 5 comparisons. And it might be possible you could use 1 per source, which would make it really easy. But what happens when we get into these more complex assignments, like you'll use Edmunds, and you'll use Edmunds for engine side, interior, and handling. And you'll use Ford for exterior and acceleration. So you're going to be mixing your sources. It's really nice if you can have a topic and 1 source. And that's what we've done so far. But now we're going to have a topic and the potential of 5 sources. And that makes it a little harder to keep track of where your information is coming from. And also another thing we're going to be working on in this paper is we're going to be working on quotes and utilizing quotes in your paper. So for each of these sources, we have 5 sources. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's try and come up with 6 quotes. 6 good quotes that will help speed your comparison along for the reader, and we're going to do those in a variety of ways. I'll give you some more information on that later, but just be looking for your 6 quotes out of your sources. And so for your sources, I'm going to need a date, I need a publisher, I need some more information. Because when we do our quotes, we'll be referring back to this source. And the whole point of that works cited page is to let the reader know where you're getting your information. And when you get a quote, it has to point to one of those sources on that works cited page so they can go back and then find that quote easily. And there's several ways to do that using the MLA guide. All right, so let's go ahead and work on how you're going to outline using 5 comparisons. So you're going to have 5 Roman numerals or capital letters, whichever. It doesn't really matter to me, just so that you know the difference. And you're going to be mixing your sources. And anything with A is going to be about the Mustang, and anything with B is going to be about the Camaro. And if you can get yourself a key established, you won't have to write it out. You could write it out. Let's say on engine size, you're talking about the Mustang, and then you give your keywords. I have no idea about engines, 250, V8, something else, and then you give your source, Ford. So these are the 3 things. You're going to have your comparison, then your keywords, and then your source. And if you have a code, instead of writing Mustang over and over. And forward, you could put A, your keywords, and it came from the forward, which, oh, these are what you're going to have to number. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is your source number 2. And that just helps a little bit in your organization. And I'm running out of room. Let me just repeat this. Engine size, that's your first comparison. And your Roman numeral 1, so it's Mustang, you have your 3 points, and it came from source number 2. Then your next one's the Camaro, it also came from source number 2. And then let's say you're going to say something else about the Camaro. You have your keyword outlines, and it comes from car and driver, which is source number 4. This just makes it a little bit easier to see. For me, you can write this out if you want to put Mustang, Camaro, Camaro, and then Ford, Ford, car and driver. But develop yourself a little key. I think that's confusing. I'm going to erase that. But those are your, let's put our Roman numerals here instead, because that's what I used over there. And so you develop a key. So you have this already established. Mustangs are A, Camaros are B's. So you'll remember that. And then your sources, give them a number, and you'll remember that. Your keywords are going to be right here. I hope that makes sense. It just makes it a lot easier to write. It also makes it easier for me to see, okay, I'm using this source. I can always look back at my key. I don't have to keep rewriting. Saves you space, saves you a little bit of time. And so that's what you're going to do. You're going to give me an outline of your 5 comparisons. Go ahead and give me the key. I do need those sources and your quotes. And work on a 15-point outline. I'm not sure you're going to be able to come up. I don't know much about engine size with 15 points. You might spread 15 points over interior and exterior. You might spread 15 points over handling and acceleration. You might even put handling, acceleration, and engine size together. I don't know a lot about cars, it's a little hard for me to help you in how you can put these together. You can work towards 3 body paragraphs. Although you can do 5, it does not matter. To me, when you get into college, you'll probably do more than a 5-paragraph essay. That is just a good starting essay. And then your quotes. You're going to give me 6 quotes. So in Edmunds, you found something that you thought was really cool that somebody said. Write that quote out. Put it in quotes. Edmunds reported. And remember, a quote is word for word. We are going to be putting this in quotes. And we're going to be pointing the reader back to one of our sources. But we need our sources in a better format. And use that citationmachine.net. Send me those sources. And once we get this organized and narrowed down, then the next week we'll do the writing or the draft of it. Okay, so outline, set yourself up a key so it makes it easy. I think it also makes it easy to see your comparisons. And I can't remember if we decided that we were going to do a point-by-point or a paragraph-by-paragraph essay, and maybe we haven't decided that. So when we do a compare and contrast, we can either do a paragraph-by-paragraph or a point-by-point. And actually, we're going to take the same information and write it both ways. So one week I'll have you do it by paragraph, and the next week point-by-point. So kind of keep that in mind, that you're going to use the same outline, the same information, and you're going to organize your paper in 2 different ways. I'll go ahead and put that on your Jupyter grades, and let's just go ahead and start with the paragraph format. And the paragraph format is where you're going to talk about, you're going to pick one of these as a paragraph and talk about Ford, engine size, interior, exterior, and you may have to do it in 2 paragraphs. So you'll spend a whole paragraph on Ford, then you'll spend a whole paragraph on the Camaro, and that's what we're going to do first. And then the next week we're going to do point by point, which will be engine size, Ford, Camaro. And then you'll do, and you might do 2 or 3 sentences about that. And you could even do a whole paragraph. It just depends on how much information. So point by point, that's going to be 1 week. Paragraph by paragraph is going to be the next week. But this week, we're going to do our pre-writing. We're going to get this outline down. You're going to try and organize it by source and comparison and get me 6 quotes that we're going to be able to use, and I'll give you more information about how to use those quotes. If you have an MLA guide handbook, or look it up online if you want, and it's going to be the chapter on citing sources in the text, and that's what we're going to be working on. That is the end of the video. Send me your sources.